Hello guys, Daniel Learmouth here. I have been modestly busy. Apologies if I sound a little bit rough. I have got a cold. But yeah, you can't see that, can you? The camera is a little bit too low up. Hang on. That has not done much. That's probably better. So, don't know if you can tell, but these boys exist now. And there's even a bigger one. Thank you, like. They're done. I now have good soundproofing in this room. So, as an understanding of why this is kind of a big deal, I should explain my situation. I live in I live in a house. But in this house is this office, which is an L shape. And it ain't great. It's a bit noisy and echoey and all of that bad stuff. So, what I've had to do is in the past I used to have foam pads on the walls attached with command strips, so things like these things where you just peel off one side, stick it on the wall, peel off the other, and then stick the thing on that. That's how I've basically been doing it. The thing with these though is that then you're not supposed to put them on wallpaper. And because of that, they kept falling off. The pads kept falling off. And because of that, they were a bit of a bastard. As you may have noticed in the last few videos, for Retro Import Review in particular, you may have noticed I stopped putting them back up because they were just annoying me. But yeah, the construction of these is something that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in this video. But I just want to start out by saying that these things were not cheap to make. Now, there are videos that claim you could get a panel like the big one here for about $25 a panel, which not inaccurate, I don't think, because if you get a pack of insulation, you've got the cheap enough materials to use, you've got wood that's easy to get a hold of, then sure, you can make them pretty cheaply. All in all, I spent 400 quid. So, bit of context for that. I don't have many tools. The things that I do have are a drill. Yeah. So, I had to do a lot of buying equipment and all of that stuff, which I'm glad I've done, because I get to be able to do other things now. If I wanted to do some more wood stuff, like make a game board or something. If I wanted to make like a chessboard, or if I wanted to be a bit fancy, a backgammon board, then I could totally do that. But by that same venture, it was really expensive. Because the materials, all in all, for all these panels, cost somewhere in the materials alone cost somewhere in the region of 190 quid. Which is a lot, especially in this day and age, because the pound has basically died. But apart from that, I don't really have many regrets. And in case you wanted any evidence of whether or not I had any regrets on this, just know that there is no post-processing on this audio here. Everything is being done completely as is. The only thing that might change is the gain. I might hop it up a little bit if it's a bit too quiet. But on the whole, I am happy with how it sounds in here. In fact, as evidence of that, my keyboard, quite echoey when it's not got the panels in, now dead. It sounds dead. That's actually insane. And just the echo in here is significantly reduced now. And I am supremely happy for that. It was expensive, but totally worth it. So, I mentioned earlier that I was going to go through the process in making these, so let's do that now. Okay, so here we are with the wood in particular here. It's 22 mils thick, 3 meters long, 100 mils wide. Perfect for what I need. There's one piece of it on the table already. And here we have a bit of a marking there, denoting 60 centimeters of wood that is to be cut right now. And there we go, that's basically 2 pieces of lumber cut quite nicely there. And that's 3 other pieces of wood cut to 64 centimeters. And there's the discards on the right, but they're not going to be discarded yet, they're going to come in handy later. Now here comes the fun bit, the insulation. Here's all the square bits, the bits that have been cut, as well as one whole one. That the cutting process didn't quite go to plan. That didn't really work out, and there's still one half of the panels left still. This is the bit where I used the discards from earlier on. This is where I used this mitre box and this mitre saw to cut the things into 10 by 10 centimeter squares and then cut them into triangles. And here is everything that we need to make a single panel. And I have already made pilot holes for the screws. This way it will be a lot easier for it to work together. And this is how it looks with one of the panels built. For this one it was actually a little bit rough. The screws, I didn't completely do my due diligence with them. I didn't redo the pilot holes for the shorter sides, but that's whatever. It's built, it does not matter too much, it's still solid. And now we fast forward to the upholstery. This is a piece of muslin that has been put into the frame so as to line it for the insulation. And speak of the devil, here's the insulation. This is Rockwell RWA 45, so it's designed for sound deadening, and handling this with PVC gloves, because, yeah, fiberglass ain't fun. And on top of this, we put yet another piece of muslin, this time to make sure that this doesn't do anything with the cotton. This is not me assuming that it would do anything with the cotton, but I just don't want it to kind of burst out or anything. And speaking of the cotton, here we are. This right here is the end result of upholstering this thing. And yep, it's pretty bright out. And there you go, there's some staples and stuff. They were not really put in very well, so I did kind of have to hammer them in, but all in all, this is pretty satisfactory. It is upholstered well, I would say. Maybe not as good as a professional, but for my needs, yeah, I don't really have an issue with this. What? I'm not done yet.
Here we have all the corner pieces glued on. Just need to wait for them to cure. Normally glue like this is handleable at 30 minutes, but I decided to wait the full 24 hours anyway. And here we have the point where I'm gonna drill a hole in the wall. And there's going to be a fair few of these. I didn't really pick many of them up on the camera. There's another one. And there's another one. Yep, there we go. They've stopped at that one. A quick run with the drill later, and adding a screw with a spacer on it. We now have the required supports for these panels. This one was a little bit funny. The wall plug just kind of ended up in the wall, so yeah, that's fun. And here we are, the panels on the wall. These are just the side. The other three I did put up. I recorded the two on the computer side, but I didn't record for the one in the recess. But yeah, this looks cool, doesn't it?
So yeah, there's the video of the production of these things. These things were a little bit annoying to make, I must admit. There were some things that I wish I had. For example, I wish I had those 90-degree clamps that you would use for joining wood, but I didn't have those because I didn't know those existed until I watched an episode of Do It Yourself, a new anime that's broadcasting this season. Yeah. The only other thing that I wish I had was a better way of mitering. So on the backs of these, no. You're on thin ice, mate. So on the back of these is, in fact, I'll show you. So, on the back of these is the corner piece, which joins this together, and glued to it is the little bit of the corner that was cut off. Now, the problem with this is that the corner bit, the little bit, was annoying to cut off because the miter saw that I've got is pathetic. So I had to, using the miter box, which the saw came with, I had to basically start the cut with that, and then finish the cut with my regular hand saw, and oh god, that was annoying. Wouldn't recommend. I better put this back up, actually. So where were we? Things that I would improve. So, one thing that I wish I'd had was a different material for the upholstering. Only reason I went with this is because it was cheap. Had I had time and money on my side, I would have gone with something completely different. I would have gone with like an asanoha, a red and white asanoha. There was one that I was going to get, but then it just disappeared. I don't know what the hell happened with it on the site that I was going to buy it. So ultimately, I ended up with the cheapest, most basic cotton. Well, not even cotton, it's polycotton that I could get. It was like a roll of, well, not even a roll, it was just a bundle of like a 10-meter long thing for like 20 quid, which, whatever, it does the job. It does the job. That's fine. That's whatever. It doesn't matter. Now that I've gone through all of this, though, there is one thing that didn't quite go as intended, and that's to do with the camera. You may notice that I am currently using a brand new lens. I'll tell a story about the previous lens in a moment, but I've changed to an EPZ 18 to 105mm f4 GOSS. Snappy name, Sony. So anyway, the you're seeing that on my camera right now, on my Sony A6400, and this is the lens before it. It's the kit lens that came with the camera as is, and it's basically been the old faithful since I had the camera. I had intended at times to get a new lens, but I kind of didn't bother for the simple reason that, well, it's a bit of an investment, and to be honest, I couldn't really guarantee that it would be worth the money. But the reason why I ended up with a new lens is because when I was out trying to prepare for filming the process of making these things, this was open, as in this was telescoped out and it was working. The camera was on and this was on, and ultimately, whilst it was on, the camera was affected by the wind, and whilst I wasn't looking, it fell into the grass. Now, thankfully, the grass wasn't particularly solid. It was quite not wet as such, but moist enough that it wouldn't really break anything. And to be sure, it's not damaged. It's not the lens itself isn't broken. However, so basically, because of the way that the camera had fallen, the lens wasn't damaged, but the lens body had bent slightly. Because of that, I didn't realise that I could have just snapped it back into place and it would have worked just fine. When I tried to use it on the camera, it didn't register properly, and because of that, I ended up unscrewing these things, these things that open up the camera lens, and having a look inside to see if there was anything I could do. And I didn't completely screw everything back in properly, so yeah. It still works though. That's the thing. Because I snapped it back into place, it does still work. I'm probably only really going to use it if I absolutely need a compact camera. Because right now, this thing is a chunky boy. This is a small boy. But yeah, not ideal. But at the end of the day, whilst I did unintentionally end up with a new lens, I still ended up with these boys. 2 on this wall, 2 on the wall there, and 1 in the recess over here. And 1 big one over here, which can be moved about as I need it to be. And I am absolutely ecstatic. It is... This place sounds good now. I can do stuff in here. That's the important thing. I can restart Retro Import Review now. I have missed doing that. And on that note, I can unveil that towards the end of this month, on the 29th of... Let me check. No, 28th. Okay. On the 28th of February, so from now, about 2 weeks' time, Katamari Damacy will be the next review up on the channel. After that, in November, the 25th, I suppose, Donkey Kong Country, which, hell yeah. I've never actually played Donkey Kong Country. I don't know how good it is. People say it's good. My friend Tori says it's good. And lastly, because I keep on making so many goddamn references to the game, and because, quite conveniently, this year marks the 25th anniversary of the franchise on the 23rd of December. Gran Turismo. We're doing it. Yeah. Gran Turismo. So, Katamari Damacy, Donkey Kong Country, and Gran Turismo to round out the year. You can be sure to look forward to those. So, in the meantime, if you want to watch something else, then my most recent video has been one dealing with the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. I've called it Sandworms and Jollibees, which appropriate because it feels like my life has become a constant Dune reference now. Apart from that, there's also the most recent Retro Import review, 9 months ago. Apart from that, if you want to follow me on socials, there's my Twitter to keep up to date with everything I'm up to. And lastly, there is my website. Now, hopefully in the coming weeks, well, not weeks, I suppose months would be more accurate, I'm going to be making a few improvements to the website. Well, not so much improvements to the website, but making a slightly different collection this time. I'm going to make it a bit more presentable, I suppose it would be fair to say. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. But until then, yeah, this has been Daniel Learmouth. Siddy. Okay, so the one thing I actually miss about the echo here is that this doesn't reverberate quite as well anymore.